You could say it in Spanish too, maybe, if you want. Say it in English and then in Spanish. Or...
How do you say division chief in Spanish?
Right?
I usually say jefe. Soy uno de los jefes del Departamento de Policía de Goshen. That's usually what I say because I don't know how to say division.
Yeah.
Usually, yeah, but usually I would say soy jefe de ahí en la Policía de Goshen.
Okay.
De todos los patrullas.
Yeah, that's literally what it translates to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want me to say it in English and in Spanish?
If you could, yeah, just because.
Because you got a Spanish audience.
Yeah, there's.
So
it's gaining.
That's interesting that you say that because some of my Spanish, even though I was born in Mexico, I've been here all my whole life. So some words, I don't know if you noticed, but at the dinner, there were some words that I forget.
Spanish.
Yeah. Just because you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, we're practicing English every day. You in the police force.
So yeah, I mean, so if you see me stop and think, and you know the word, help me out.
I got you, man. No worries.
You can be the most mouthiest, most biggest criminal, but I don't have to disrespect you. I don't have to. You're still going to jail. You know, just because I have the authority to take your freedom from you doesn't mean that I'm better than you. We're all the same. Not everybody's a criminal. I wish that when people encounter law enforcement officers, that they're treated that way. They're treated with respect. I was never afraid to go to Walmart if I'm not in this with my kids, with my wife, my girlfriend, whatever, you know. Never afraid to go to restaurants. Don't have to sit with facing the door. Some cops do. Because I never treated anybody so bad that they would want to hurt me. I would have people like thanking me. And not for taking them to jail, but for treating them with respect.
Let justice.
Yeah, let justice take its course. You know, sometimes if you do that, you might change that perception. And if you get to change that perception of one person, like that'd be amazing. I know inside that's how I felt about cops. He just expressed it. You're not getting a ticket today. I said, here's your license. I said, you encounter those folks that, like me, when I was young and didn't like cops and stopping somebody. Then the guy grabs his license, he puts it up on the hood or on the top of the car. He goes, her license registration, he says it's right there, and he starts getting mouthy and cussing. I take his license. I said, sir, what's going on with you today? Why are you so aggressive? He said, well, I know you're gonna give me an effing ticket and you guys don't have anything to do and blah blah blah. And I said, I'm sorry you feel that way. I said, but you were speeding and that's why I stopped you. I said, but I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not like those other cops that you've encountered. Not at all. Because you're not getting a ticket today. I said, here's your license. I said, I hope you have a better day. That was it. You know what he said before he left? Thank you. You're different. I said, no, I'm not different. I said, there are cops just like me out there. Just a lot of them. I said, I will be honest with you, you know, with the attitude right away. But, and I didn't go into how I was, you know, but that's probably like how I felt inside. I wouldn't do that because I was probably too afraid back when I was 20. But I know inside that's how I felt about cops. He just expressed it. And I just saw opportunity there. Saw opportunity to change his mind. And he said, thank you. So it works. It does work. Just, yeah.
Proof to the community, you know, that there's good in the police department, there's good police officers, you know. Not everyone that does something bad
is criminal. Yeah. Good people do bad things.
Good people do bad things. Yeah. Alrighty, what's up? It's your boy Felix coming straight out of the 574 Elkhart, E-Town, the city with the heart. And today, hoy tengo el privilegio de tener al señor
Mora. Soy jefe en la Policía de Goshen. I'm Division Chief Mora at the Goshen Police Department.
Yes, and Mario, we first met at your retirement celebration.
Yes, we did.
In El Patron. That took a turn, didn't it?
Yeah.
From retirement to
Yeah, and the turnout was amazing.
Mhm.
Like the support, I was overwhelmed.
Mhm.
Like I was overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, it was great. There was
Yeah.
all the influential, impactful people in the town in the Goshen. Um, Gilberto, thank you once again for
Absolutely.
the invitation. I am so glad that I was given that opportunity and was able to get to know great people, um, and people that are going to do great things in the Goshen community. Um, and so let's dive right in. Mario, could you start with your current role? I think you already mentioned that, but can you talk a little bit about your current role right now?
So my current role right now is going to be community engagement, as well as handling the fleet, patrol cars, detective cars, for the Goshen Police Department, as well as events. So any event that we have in Goshen, I will be putting together, reaching out to folks, talking to them, to see what the needs are, or maybe there there may be an issue or something that I may be able to help with. So
So like on First Fridays or like events like those.
yeah, so First Fridays is a pretty simple one. So it's my job to post for the officers to get officers to work the event. Um, and then secondly, make sure that we're um, have a plan if something goes south on us. And then we'll have a briefing, usually how it works, about every event. Just having emergency plans put together and in place for those folks that are there so they're safe.
Uh, could you take us back? We'll get into more of that in a bit, but before we do, um, you paint a picture of who Mario is. Take us back to where Mario was born, origins, father and mother roots.
Okay. So I was born in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Mexico.
Shout out.
Right. For real. My father, he was also born in Reynosa. My mother, she was born in Tampico. Um, and that's where I was born. So I have four siblings, um, five siblings. Sorry.
So you're six in total?
Yeah, we're six altogether. Um, so I have two brothers and four sisters. Yeah.
We're almost the same, man. I have five. I have six in total, four sisters and one little brother.
Yeah, you have to think about that. Right? You have to think about, okay, Sergio, Lalo, Betty, and but yeah, yeah, hold on, Celeste, yeah, and I don't want to forget her or Ariel. I forget them, I'm in trouble.
Hey, don't get mad at him.
Yeah, right.
Something that stuck with me, Mario, from your retirement celebration event. Now that we're talking about, your origins and how you grew up, something that stuck with me was that an experience that you went through as a child. You mentioned how in daycare you couldn't speak English, and that you would cry for your parents. Uh, it's frightening when you can't communicate. Like and you're in a new place, and you share that the teacher would cover your nose and mouth so that you would stop crying. That was very that was heartfelt because to see who you are today, but we don't stop and think about how the upbringing was.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share a little bit about that experience in that daycare and how that was for you?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember, I remember the teacher, like I can describe her to a sketch artist, and they'd probably get it perfect, because I could still see her face. But yeah, when my mom would drop me off, I didn't speak English. It was it was later on in life. I was probably 4 or 5, maybe, when I went to the daycare. I mean, I couldn't have been school age because I would have been in school, kindergarten. But yeah, I remember crying for my mom when she dropped me off, and I couldn't communicate, and because I didn't speak English. Um, but yeah, she would get me to stop crying by covering my nose and my mouth at the same time, and I couldn't breathe. So either I stopped crying, so I could breathe, or I continued to cry and not breathe. And I chose stop crying. But yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. Just, like I said, I think when traumatic things happen in your life, you don't forget them, and that was one of the ones when I was a child that I'll never forget. Um, but yeah, and I never told my mom about it till I was an adult.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that more than once, or was it at the
Um.
daycare? Like,
Yes, it was more than once, but it didn't take me very long to learn that if I cried, I wasn't going to breathe, and um that impacted my life. Like so, I've siblings, and sometimes when we would wrestle um, and play fight. So like if I were to get pinned down, I hated it. Like I felt like panicked. Yeah, and it was the same panic that I had when the teacher put her hand over my mouth and nose. Um, I mean, it was exact same. Like it was horrible. But yeah, it was no fun. Definitely no fun.
Yeah. No, there's no other panic like, suffocation and not being able to breathe, like
Absolutely.
it's almost like when you're underwater and like
Mhm.
those, you're like holding your breath, but then you like just
Yeah.
wow, man. And as a child and not being able to communicate it and then just carrying it with you because like you said, you didn't mention it to your mom.
Yeah, I didn't tell anyone.
Nadie te pudo
Actually,
consolar, ¿no?
nadie pudo. Yo no, tampoco no pude decirle a nadie. O sea, no sé si era por miedo o por, no sé la mera verdad por qué no le dije a nadie. But I didn't tell anybody until later. And then my mom was mad at me. She's like, amigo, me hubieras dicho. I would have went over there.
Turned it upside down.
Oh yeah, she was short and but she was a little firecracker.
Spicy.
No, she was spicy. Yeah, don't mess with her kid.
Yeah, no,
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think definitely fathers or mothers, we're lioness and lions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, no, yeah, because when I was speaking to Mayor Gina, we were talking about how having kids can change your life, and how they change your perspective. And she mentioned how, like, on the car ride home, she never really thought about how people drive, but when she had her newborn, like, hey, slow down, or like, you're getting too close, like, it's a switch, being a father and mother for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That protective part of you comes out without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Did this and moments like these change who you were as a kid? Can you remember if before you were maybe like outgoing, enthusiastic, and then experiencing the US, the change of life, culture, language? Did it change you? Did it like was there a Mario in Mexico and then was there a Mario here?
No, I was shy. And I think that when I was probably 13 years old and started shining shoes at Oconee Country Club to help my mom pay the bills. Because my dad was, I mean, they were divorced. They had divorced by that time. And, I started helping mom pay the bills. And so I started working at age 13, shining shoes for the golfers and cleaning their golf shoes and whatnot. And I think about that time is when I became more outgoing because I had to talk to people. I was kind of, I wouldn't say forced, but I mean, it was my job to communicate with these golfers and see if they wanted their golf shoes shined or not. So I think that's about the time, but I was pretty quiet. I was pretty quiet to myself. Um, and I don't know if that had an impact on my life, I guess, other than the fact that I don't like to be held down. Um, but yeah, I think I've been pretty steady, I guess, my whole life. But I think I probably became more alive when I started working at the country club because then I was around people.
Yeah, exposed to the people,
Yeah.
conversations.
Absolutely.
So that job not only got you to speak more, but did you learn from the conversations of people there that you were shining, or did you like get any insight that you otherwise wouldn't have?
Interesting that you say that. So there's a proper way to speak. There is.
Yeah. Like pronunciation or
and well, not necessarily pronunciation, but education level. Like, I mean, I was 16. I mean, 13 to 16. I mean, I worked at the country club. I actually, when I left the country club in '93, I was assistant executive chef. So I went from shining shoes to washing dishes to preparing food to being a line cook to being the assistant executive chef when I left in '93. Um, so it was a long journey there. But yeah, just at education level, like I wasn't that educated, not because I didn't want to be or I didn't want to study or whatever, but I was a kid, so I didn't have that experience. But I learned um, how to talk a little bit more proper, I guess, just at an early age because I was exposed to it. So it's pretty wild. And so when I would talk to people, people always thought that I was older.
Like you,
Yeah,
it stuck to you. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, people just thought I was older, and they also thought I was the oldest in out of brothers and sisters because I was the one working. Brothers and sisters were in school, and so I would get done with school and I'd go to work, and they were out hanging out with friends, and I wasn't. And
Working.
Yeah, I was working, and that's all I knew.
That matured you at such a young age.
Such a young age, yeah, such a young age. You know, because I hung out with, you know, I remember when I was 17 years old, I was hanging out with people that were in their 20s, you know, and I went right along with it, you know. I mean, they knew how old I was, but like I could hang out with them, and I don't know, it seemed natural.
Yeah,
it seemed natural.
You've had many roles and positions. Throughout your years, have you experienced a lot of youth, young people with similar stories to yours, or similar, you know, like having to work at a very young age, or
Yeah, actually, in my law enforcement career, I've got to know more people like me that haven't had uh, haven't had been so fortunate, you know, and had to have um, food on the table and help parents out and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I have.
and yeah, no, because there's not that it's the fortunate, but then there's the unfortunate. But I know that there's a lot of youth that literally don't even have a childhood, you know, or like, you know, the same outgoing trips or the same, you know, type of toys or the same, you know, it's like it's two sides to the coin, I guess, you know.
There are,
Very
there are. There are, and I don't. I've definitely. It's definitely made me a better person. Not having to be so fortunate, I guess, or because I've learned that through hard work and honesty and commitment that you can do anything. Um, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Like I never thought I was going to be a police officer. I never even had any ambitions to be a police officer. None at all.
When would you say that kind of clicked for you? At what age, or what happened in your life that made you, look that way?
I was probably 27, maybe somewhere around there. Maybe even a little bit older. Maybe even 30. But so I grew up in Elkhart.
Okay.
Most of my life. I mean, we lived in Reynosa. We lived in McAllen, Texas. When I was younger and in school.
So would this be sort of what you were like?
Yeah, that
when
was
you
me.
at the academy?
Yeah, that's when I graduated the police academy.
Okay.
That was at our graduation. So this guy right here, the
Yeah.
older guy, he knew my ex-father-in-law.
Okay.
It was Mark Kay, and he was a wonderful person. But they worked on the railroad together.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's his son. So we were in the same academy class, but he was a DNR officer. But yeah, he was a pretty good guy. He's actually now an instructor at the academy. Yeah, it's crazy to see how, like, that's an old picture.
Yeah.
Old picture. And who this guy is, no sé.
Yeah, in ese tiempo, like around 27, 30, you had the mustache going?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had mustache and I had hair. And I wasn't so big. I was a lot smaller then than I am now. Now I'm a little more ponchadito.
Muscular?
Fluffy. Fluffy would say, and a little bit fluffy,
right.
pero no, not too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was after the academy.
Wow.
Actually, that's at the academy when we graduated. I think that was around 2003, 2004. And that was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you went from not even having it in your mind to then graduating the academy.
Yeah, and who would ever thought?
Yeah.
Who would ever thought that I would have went to the academy and graduated? And yeah, it's a crazy story when I think about it.
Yeah. How did your family feel about it? Your mother, your father? What did they have? Any thoughts on it?
My dad really, I mean, like I said, when I was a kid, he really wasn't there in my life. He had remarried and had 3 other kids, and he was busy with that family, and so I didn't communicate with him much. I knew that he was happy that I became a police officer. My mother, no, on the other hand, she was surprised because I didn't like police officers.
Growing up.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say I grew up in Elkhart, and I just didn't have very good experiences with police officers in Elkhart. And I had this idea about police officers just did not like people who were not white, and yeah, I just didn't care for them.
Yeah.
Didn't care for them. I mean, they're like the encounters that I had anyway.
Right, the experiences, right?
I mean, the officers were rude. They were demeaning. I remember getting stopped in Elkhart. So my girlfriend at the time, I dropped her off at work, and she worked midnights. And like I said, I've worked since I was 13 years old. Didn't know any different. I wasn't out devago or causing trouble. So I dropped her off at work, and I was coming back home. Just coming home. I lived on Middlebury Street with my mom, and a police officer stopped me over on Lusher and Benham, and said he stopped me for speeding. And I saw the police officers. They were sitting in a parking lot where Tolson is right now.
Yeah, that's
where they're sitting. And I saw them, and I have nothing to worry about because I'm not doing anything wrong. I just dropped my girlfriend off at work. They stopped me. They got me out of my car, searched my car. It was like 12:30 or something. I'm like, what is this all about? Just because I'm Mexican, at midnight, you think I'm out doing something that I shouldn't be doing. Like this is not right.
From the initial reason for stopping was speeding, and then how did they escalate it to then search?
Told me to get out of the car.
Oh, they just
Yeah.
No probable cause or not like
hell no. No. And I hate to say that.
Yeah.
What I know now about law enforcement, that was totally illegal. 100% illegal. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that they violated my rights. So I wasn't wrong when I said that I didn't like police officers, especially now. I wasn't wrong about the fact that what they were doing to me was wrong because I didn't do anything. Right. And it went from speeding to get out of your car. And I'm like, why do I have to get out of my car? Because I told you to. Well, you know what? I'm not going to. Yeah, I mean, they got a gun.
The person with the gun, right?
Right, and there's two of them. And so I got out. They searched my vehicle, sat on the curb. They got done. They're like, all right. He went back, wrote me a ticket. And I remember grabbing the ticket, and he tried to explain it to me. Now he's being nice. And I grabbed the ticket, and I crumbled it in my hand. I threw it on the floor. Because I was so pissed off because I was like, here I am, not doing anything wrong. And I was just so irritated. I wanted to get home, go to sleep. And I didn't do anything wrong. Like, it was just such an injustice. So that was my experiences, like, with cops, and just didn't care for them. So it was probably about, let me see, probably 90. I moved to Ligonier in 1991, and I met Dave Pena. He was a police officer. I cannot tell you the year right now. You're asking me to dig deep.
Right. 2 decades ago.
Yeah. And I had no bad experiences with him, so I don't remember that exact date. But anyway, I met him, and he seemed like a cool guy. And I'm like, hey, this police officer's cool, but he's Mexican. So maybe that's why he's cool.
Maybe that's fine, yeah.
So then he invited me to do a ride along. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to be around cops, And I knew he was the only Latino at the time on the department. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. And he's like, oh, come on, you'll like it. I'm like, I don't know. So he convinced me to go, and I went. And I remember stopping at the police department in Ligonier. And it had to have been like shift change or something because there were more than 2 officers there. And they were all really nice. They shook my hand, introduced themselves, and they were like, hey, yeah, you'll have fun, we're gonna, there might be trouble around the corner, and it's gonna be exciting or whatever. And I'm like, man, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
And they're all white guys.
Yeah.
And so my perception started changing.
Yeah.
Because the perception in my head was all cops are bad.
Based on your experience.
Based on my experience. And even when like there was police officers that passed in the line of duty or something, and they would always be like, oh, they're such great people, blah blah blah. And I remember in my head thinking, who were they though?
Uh-huh. With that little doubt.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But when I met these other Ligonier police officers, I'm like, these are the guys they're talking about. Like, these are the good guys. So yeah, I started riding with them more often. I got to know all the officers. All of them were super nice, super duper nice. The chief was awesome. But yeah, and then Dave Pena went to work for. It had been in the like 90. Had been like 96, 95, 96, somewhere within that time, because Dave went to work for Goshen Police Department. He left Ligonier, went to Goshen. John Durham was the chief of police, and he asked me if I would, so what Dave did as well, there's a large Latino community in Ligonier, So he translated quite a bit, whether it was an arrest or, somebody's calling because, they're a victim of a crime and they speak English. So they would translate. So John Durham recognized, hey, the guy that can speak Spanish is leaving. So he asked me, he's like, hey, would you want a job? And I'm like, a job doing what? And he's like, oh, be a police officer. And I'm like, huh? Just like that. And so I'm like, well, yeah, definitely. So I applied and everything, and I was all excited. And then I got disappointed because I found out that in the state of Indiana, you cannot be a law enforcement officer unless you're a U.S. citizen. And I had a green card, so I couldn't be a police officer.
I had to delay that a little bit.
So I had to delay it. So he's like, you know what? I'm not going to let this guy go. So John Durham said, you know what? You're going to be our official translator. And I remember getting the idea. It said, Ligonier Police. I still have it. Ligonier Police Department translator.
So one way or another, they still got you.
Yeah, he wanted to keep me, and he was an awesome dude. He was an awesome guy. But yeah, he did that, and then he left and retired, and it was Tom Locke. He became the chief, and he was super duper guy. And he's like, we're going to keep you on, and you need to apply for your citizenship. And I had already done that, but it took a year. But yeah, so I went through that whole process, and that was like in '98 or '99. Well, in 2000, I became a U.S. citizen, and I remember the day of my ceremony. It was in Lafayette. I became a citizen. That evening, they swore me in as a Ligonier police officer.
Wow. They're like, what we've been waiting for.
Yes, and I remember being so proud. I remember getting the uniform and the badge, and I remember it hanging up in my closet, and I was just so proud. I'd go back and make sure it was still there and look at it again, and because I would have never thought I was going to become a police officer.
Yeah. So. And you were working towards it for so long.
Yeah.
Translating, first being let down, and then translating, and then not only getting your citizenship, but having a job lined up right after.
Mm-hmm.
And I can.
But yeah,
imagine how happy you were, man.
It was a pretty up and down roller coaster because I was worried too. Like I have friends and family that have applied for their citizenship, and they're afraid that what if I miss too many questions and whatever. And I had the same worries. And I went to school. I learned English. I knew how to read, write, and all that. And I thought I knew what was going on as far as the test to become a citizen. And no, there's a lot of questions that I did not know. There's a lot of questions. I remember I would quiz the guys at the police department. I'd be like, hey, do you know?
You as an American, right?
Yeah. And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, but I'm expected to learn this.
Right.
To know this. And out of 100 questions, they may ask me 10 or 5. And I didn't know which ones they were going to ask. But anyway, it was pretty simple. It turned out they asked me the ones that I knew, I guess.
That's great, man. That's great. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure that some of the questions, like the regular, typical American probably couldn't answer, but
yeah, and they would say that they'd be like, "Holy cow, man, that's tough," and I'd be like, "I know, you're telling me."
Pat on your back, man.
Yeah, right.
Because we don't even got it.
Yeah.
So then you got your citizenship. You became a police officer at Ligonier Department Police Department.
Yep. They sent me to the police academy. I graduated as a Ligonier Police Department police officer.
And so before we continue through that, you mentioned when we first talked that another experience, or could have been that same experience we just talked about, how when you were pulled over by police officers, they asked for identification. You gave them your green card,
Yeah.
and they would say, "What the heck is this?" You know, like,
Yeah.
where's your ID?"
Yeah, they would ask me where my ID is, and I'm like, what do you mean? That is an ID. That's from the U.S. government, like the federal government. What are you talking about?
Mhm.
Like, no, we need Indian ID. And again, as a police officer for 26 years now, I know that that was improper. It was improper and not justified. Like, I don't, it's no different than my passport. Like, it is a federal document. I don't need an Indiana ID when you have I think it was a resident, it used to say resident alien, and then they changed it um, to not say resident alien. It said, I think it was pink. They changed it to a pink card, so I couldn't call it a green card anymore. It was a pink card. But it was your resident card, which I didn't get till I was like 11.
Oh,
Yeah, I was in the States, and I didn't have any papers. So was my mom. She's the same boat as me. So I know that struggle as well, you know, being here undocumented. Now I don't know it like I didn't experience it in my adult life, but I knew the concern my mom had. You know, she was an adult, and I remember traveling to Mexico City, and I don't even know why we had to do that, but I remember we had to go to Mexico City. It was when it was an amnesty um, in the 80s, maybe 84 or something, because I was about 11, so that would have made me 10. Where my mom and I were able to get our residency, permanent residency. That's what it was called here in the U.S.
So, hoy es un jefe en la departamento de la policía en Goshen y empezó sin papeles, sin saber el idioma en Estados Unidos, sin documentos hasta la edad de 11 o
11
12
años.
y trabajando a los 13 años para ayudarle a su mamá, saliendo de la escuela a trabajar. ah, y hoy en día, like, jefe de policía, en la ciudad de Goshen y wow, man, like, sí se puede, sí se
It's a
puede.
crazy. Oh, sí se puede. It's a crazy ride, but yeah, I mean, like I said, you just have to be determined. And I was never really determined to become a police officer until my perception changed. Once my perception changed, I was like, you know, I could be a good police officer. I could be that police officer that's not like the ones that I dealt with. So because there's so many good police officers out there. Like I said, in my 26 years as a law enforcement officer, there are some really, really good guys out there that care. And there are some that don't care so much. And that's unfortunate. Because I think if you get in this business, you should care. And the day that you stop caring, I think you should get out. It's okay. Like, I mean, this job is hard. It takes a toll on your family, takes a toll on you. And there's nothing wrong to get out if you're sour. So, but I do see that in this business.
Yeah, I think you describe it well because, like if someone is sour with that authority, of having a badge, you can not only change people's lives, or you can like be detrimental to, in your experiences when they went out of their authority or did something illegal search, or it's like getting people in trouble, and like maybe they were innocent the whole time, but like a
100%.
sour person or officer, could abuse
Absolutely.
and change.
And we can touch on that if you want me to, because I have So I became a police officer, so I was just a patrolman. And that's out patrolling in your patrol car, stopping you for speeding, responding to calls, stuff like that. After that, I became a detective, and I worked child crimes. So I learned so much. Sure, absolutely. So I learned so much about human behavior. It's crazy.
During the child.
Yes, my experience as being a detective, because I had a lot of training, a lot of school, and particularly to read people's behavior. And it's not always like, are you lying, or it could be just you're nervous. It could be, when you get nervous, you go like this. Are you?
I'm dealing with a professional, guys. What is he reading about me?
Right. So yeah, I mean, that doesn't always mean something bad. But if you do it enough, you might just be nervous. That's okay.
Like you can read what's under.
Yeah, I mean that's what we do. We listen to the words. We listen to how you say them. We listen, and pay attention to the way your mannerisms are. Like what you're doing. So when I would see a lawsuit, and not at Goshen Police Department, but other departments, where they're being sued because this person was in prison for 20 years and they coerced them. What I do know is that it's possible. It's so easy to do.
To get them to admit that they're guilty or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so when people are like, nah, police wouldn't do that. I bet you I could. You know what I mean? So I would be like, that is real. Like, not that I believe every story, but I do believe that
probability.
The probability is so high, and I'm not skeptical when I hear those things. I believe them. I shouldn't, because I don't know the whole story. But what I do know is it's very possible to do that. Like to talk you into confessing to something you didn't do, or just saying enough to make it look like you're guilty. You see what I'm saying?
That picture.
Yes. And that's bad. That's so bad because, like you said, innocent people go to prison. And it's so wrong. It's so wrong.
Yeah.
And when I had when I would have these kind of conversations with my fiance Gina or my kids, like if I watched a show, there's some documentary about interviews, and I'm like, yep, see that guy right there? He is coaching him, like he's getting him. He's pushing him to confess origin, and I'm like, that is so wrong in so many ways, because you shouldn't do that. It's very easy to manipulate a kid, and people are like, well, you can manipulate the kid. You can manipulate adults too, without a doubt. So yeah, I do believe it, and those cases that I have seen, like, shame on you, bad cop. Shouldn't do that, because that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be servants of the community, and I think every officer thinks, well, yeah, I'm a servant of the community, but I'm a police officer too.
I'm the law.
I'm the law, right? And it doesn't work that way. It just really doesn't. And if you have that mentality, you shouldn't be a cop, because that's bad business. It's going to hurt us all. Hurt us all.
Like that, I think you mentioned at the day of the celebration, you were like, it's because, I think you got in trouble, right?
I got in trouble. Because of people like you that people like me get shot in the head, because at the time, this was around 2012. I remember it because my kid's graduation was that day, and that's when I got into this argument with this police officer. And he was just so rude and just wanting to, like, hang anybody who he could. And he was there as a support for another department because it was out in the county. And I'm like, it's cops like him that give us a bad name. Like, I'm proud to be a police officer, but it's cops like him that why people don't like us as law enforcement officers. And I told him that. And I said, and I probably used different words, but I said, it's guys like you that get guys like me shot in the head because you're unkind. You treat everybody like a criminal. And that just irritates me so bad. So bad that I let my emotions get the best of me. And then I got in trouble. Because even though I was speaking my mind and I was speaking the truth, there's nothing that I said that wasn't true. What I didn't do is be professional. And it didn't happen in Goshen. It happened in another city. And I remember when I got in trouble, the chief of police was Wade Branson. And that stuck with me my whole life since he said it. But he said, Mario, he said, everybody that was there, because there was a lot of people there, it was an accident that involved a family member. And so a lot of people showed up. Well, this officer started investigating everybody. Like, people that just showed up to make sure the family member was okay, right? And he starts running plates and,
wow,
yeah, that plate's expired. I'm going to tow that car. I'm like, that was at the time my mother-in-law's grandson. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, she's here for her grandson that just got into this accident. You want to tow her car because her plates are expired? Get out of here, Anyway, so Chief Wade Branson said, Mario, he's like, did everybody on scene know that you're a police officer? Well, yeah, they knew, because I worked for that department. And everybody knows that I'm a police officer in Goshen. And he's like, all right. He's like, is there something that you could have done different? And boy, did that shut me up. Because I could have done something different. I could have wrote his chief of police saying how unprofessional he was. But I didn't. I ran my mouth and said, and Chief Branson said, so this officer wrote a letter to my chief, said how unprofessional I was at the scene. And I learned a very good lesson there. And that's, don't run your mouth. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. But it did, because like as a young man in my 20s, it was officers like him that I could not stand.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand to be in the same room with people like that. Just can't.
It's like, what made you dislike officers? You met the good ones, but then you were meeting those that you recall experiencing in you.
Absolutely. And it just made me pretty mad pretty quickly, But
wow, man. So he actually wrote to your chief.
I wrote my chief and said, and the chief, because I disagreed, and I was up talking to Wade, our chief, and I said, I just disagree, chief. I mean, I wasn't even in Elkhart County. I'm in a different county. I was in my shorts and a t-shirt, with my son's graduation. And he just looked at me and he's like, Mario, he's like, could you have done something different than what you did that day? By telling that police officer, put him in his place. And I'm like, sure. Yeah, I could have. I should have wrote his chief, told him how unprofessional he was. But I didn't. So I look bad. And I got disciplined for it. I think I got a write-up for it.
Yeah. Was it more so that the chief felt like he had to fulfill his duty, or is it that he agreed with with or is it that he felt that he needed to be disciplined genuinely?
So Wade was so fair. Okay. Like love that man. I mean, he's passed since, but love him to death. He has a huge heart, and I know that he agreed with me. He agreed with what I was saying. What he didn't agree with is me telling this other officer. Like I said, I didn't say it with the same words I'm telling you now. Like I was probably cussing to the point where I was like, all right, well, let's go. My wife at the time was like, come on, let's go. We're in trouble. Because I was pretty loud. Because it's that injustice that I cannot stand. I cannot stand it. Like, here this lady is here checking on her grandson, and you're going to tow her car. It wasn't the fact that she had to pay money. Okay, we'll pay money to get the car out. No big deal. We'll go get the plates. Not a big deal. It was that he would do it at that time. Right. And I'm like,
you should be caring, right? Like,
yes, have a heart.
Yeah.
Holy cow. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, what Wade did was correct, 100% correct. I should have been disciplined, and I accepted it, and especially after he said that, I accepted it because it was the right thing to do. I would expect for any Goshen officer to behave in a professional manner and not behave the way I did, even though sometimes it feels good. Not always the right thing, right? Because I would have got further if I would have wrote that letter to his chief, and I probably would have been heard, But I kind of drowned my voice out when I decided to
express it in that
way, the way that I did, 100%.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Wow. That would anger me as well. Like they're already going through a hard time, and you're looking for other ways to get them. Like,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it was bad. So like when it comes to, and I don't remember who I said this to. I think I might have said it at the dinner, and I'm not sure who I was talking to. But like when it comes to talking to the police, like I would tell my kids don't talk to the police if they're being accused of crime. Not because I think there are a lot of bad cops out there. That's not why. What I do know about cops, and especially more experienced police officers that have the training and knowledge that I have. Like I think that we can. I think that I could, like I said, coerce you to say something that maybe you don't mean, say something, or maybe even admit to whatever you're being accused of. I know that happens. So there's a difference between I'm stopping you because you were speeding. That's an infraction. I'm stopping you because you ran the red light. Infraction. And especially if you know you did it, right? I'm not going to be like, no, officer, I wasn't speeding. No, I looked at, first thing we all do, look at our odometer. Did we? Or if we're getting stopped because we went through a red light, it's probably usually yellow, right? So it's possible. Yep, officer, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that. I wasn't paying attention. Whatever the case is, but there's no reason not to talk to the police. They're not all bad, but I'm just saying, like, and I used this example. I said, if I'm in this neighborhood, I had a different neighborhood, but if I'm in your neighborhood and 2 streets over, somebody got robbed by gunpoint, and they're asking the victim, "What described the man to me?" Well, he was Hispanic, dark hair, dark eyes, about 5'8", 5'9", 200 pounds. Like, that's a lot of Latinos. So if I'm walking in your neighborhood and I get stopped by the police, they're like, hey, come over here. I want to talk to you. I'm like, for what? I didn't do anything. Well, we just had this robbery, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't need to talk to you. Because I have nothing to do with it. And you described how many people would live here in this neighborhood, right? And that does happen. It does happen. So yeah, I wouldn't talk to the police. No way. You're not gonna, you know. And it happened to a guy. It was on the news yet, like not too long ago. And I don't remember what the case was, but it could have been robbery or murder. But he just got out of prison, and he was just walking along the side of the road, and he happened to be African American, but you know that could have been anybody, you know. So it does happen. I know it does happen. So, but when it comes to infractions, like, yeah, if you know you did it, especially if you know you did it, I mean, just be nice, be courteous, and even if they say, well, somebody got robbed over here, you fit the description. Okay, I fit the description, but I respectfully, I would like an attorney. Not that I did anything, but I'm not going to get. I know you know how to talk.
Mix me up, yeah.
Right.
Tangle me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it could happen.
Yeah, definitely. Mario, so we've talked a bit about some of the rules. So just to give the audience a kind of a clear picture, could you take us through your roles in sort of like in order, starting with
Timeline?
patrolman? Yeah.
Yeah, so in 2000, I became a patrolman in Ligonier. I worked for Ligonier for 5 years. In 2005, I applied at Goshen Police Department, and I was a patrolman from 2005 to 2013. And then I was promoted to detective. And so when you get promotions at Goshen Police Department, you have to take a test. There's an interview process. It's not just given to you because the chief likes you, So you got to go through this process, and I became a detective in 2013, and the assignment for the detective when I uh, put in for it was for child crimes. So I knew that I'd be doing child crimes, like working child molest, child abuse, child neglect, child death.
Now that we're on that, before we move forward, do you have a memorable experience with the child investigating, like one that just stuck to you?
So all of them stick with me.
No, yeah.
It's crazy because, it's a good question. But I think you probably want like a happy ending.
No, it's just like one that's like eye-opening or heartful,
One that really stuck with me was this child was a victim of child abuse. Actually, it was child molest. I'm sorry. And the suspect did show up for court. He took off. He was gone for some time. I want to say a couple years, maybe, or a year. Then he came back, and I when I say he left, he could have been in a different state. I don't know where he was. But the prosecutor's office has investigators, and they are on point. Like, they found this guy. They found him. They found out where he was working and everything, and so they called me. They're like, "Hey, that guy that has a warrant that didn't show up for his trial, blah blah blah. We think we know where he's at." So I met them in Bristol. This guy was working in Bristol, and sure enough, it was him. And he was like living a good life, posting a lot of stuff on social media, and but the investigators over there are really good, and they found him, and I was pretty happy. So he went to trial. Um, the victim had moved to a different state with family, and she was older now. And of course, I was at the trial, and I had to testify, and the victim had to testify as well. And after the trial, he was found guilty. And after the trial, she had a card and like a bag of like little gifts, and she told me that it was such it was such an impact on her life that I worked so hard to get justice for her. Chokes me up. But yeah, I mean that was amazing, and that's why I did that job for so long. Um, but yeah, it was wonderful to know that these few years that went on, um, she knew that I worked my very best that I could do, you know, and I heard her out, and um, but yeah, so that was awesome. She had a card, and she even got one for my fiance, and she wanted to meet her, and but yeah, after court, and it was just amazing the impact that you can have on little young minds like that, because she was put through a traumatic event, and for her to know that there are still people that care,
Yeah,
was amazing.
real definition of a hero, man.
Yeah, that was a tough day.
Yeah.
I mean, it really brought tears to my eyes because that's why I did it. There's so many bad cases. I like even when I got into child crimes, I didn't realize how many kids would be victims, to these horrible things, and yeah, it just opened my eyes.
Yeah.
But it made me work hard. Pay attention.
And you did that for like 7, 8 years.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And usually detectives do it for 4 years, and then they're tired of all the dark stories.
Heartbreaking.
Oh man, yeah, heartbreaking. Just yeah, and I mean child death as well. That stuff. So like we see things that I don't believe that human beings should be seeing. Really, it's horrible.
Yeah, and I imagine like being a father,
Yeah,
having your own little ones. It's like
yeah.
they're babies,
Yeah, and I mean, were we overprotective as parents? Oh my gosh, yeah, we were.
Wow. Sorry. So rewinding, you were explaining the timeline. You were on the.
Oh yeah, so detective, and I worked strictly child crimes, and then I became a team leader, basically a supervisor in the detective bureau, and so it was split up. One hall they did property crimes, the other hall we did people crimes, and I was in charge of the people crime. But yeah, did that. I enjoyed it. Kind of got away from cases as I was about to be done with being a detective. And an opening came open for midnight captain or midnight lieutenant. I'm sorry, lieutenant. And there's a open captain's position right now currently at Goshen, so maybe that's where my mind went. But yeah, there was an opening for a lieutenant on midnight shift. I'm like, man, do I want to do that? Let's try it. So took the test, did the interviews, got selected. And that was fun. It was fun. It was a totally different role.
Environment, like
yeah,
to tune, like
yeah,
a day,
yeah,
a tone.
Yeah, and then to be in charge. Like sometimes if the captain wasn't there, I was in charge of the whole city. Pretty wild. Yeah,
Pretty major, yeah, for sure.
yeah. And then in 2019, Chief Jose Miller and Assistant Chief Sean Turner called me up to their office, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Like, I have the assistant chief, and chief called me to his office, and I'm trying to, in my short walk up to the office, I'm thinking, what happened? Like,
What I do?
well, not what I did, but maybe I didn't tell them about something. And
Oh.
I'm thinking, what has happened on our shift that, and then maybe I didn't communicate with them. And I'm like, have a seat. You're not in trouble or anything. I'm like, well, couldn't you guys have started with that? Like, a phone call, hey, you're not in trouble. We need
to see.
Yeah. But it was funny, and yeah, they asked me if I. So at the time, uh, the division chief for patrol had stepped down and went back to becoming a detective. So when I left, he took my spot, but he took that like he was a detective when he got promoted to division chief. So then he just went back to his old job. He didn't have to test for it or anything. So yeah, so I was asked to be division chief over patrol, and I was like, okay, now am I not only in charge of the whole city some nights when the captain wasn't there, but now I'm going to be in charge of the whole patrol division. Wow. And I had to think about it. I'm like, hey, can I think about this? Um, so the division chief over investigations, when I was a detective, we were pretty close. And he had stepped down and went to night shift. And so I wanted to talk to him first. I want to see, hey, what's this? What am I getting into? And he supported me, and he said, Mario, he's like, you can do it. He's like, you're like, you have what it takes to do that job. And I'm still kind of down myself, right? And so the next day I went in and told him, yeah, let's give it a try. One of the best moves I made.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was division chief over patrol for 19, 23, so 24, 6 years.
So is that what we have here? Or is
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's when I became division chief over patrol. And there's family, my sisters, my kids, a couple friends. Yeah,
Here we are.
yeah, right there. Yeah, I was under Jeremy's stuff when he was mayor.
Okay. And which one is the chief and chief assistant?
This is Jose Miller.
Okay.
He's a chief.
Oh, okay.
This is assistant chief, and this is Keith Miller. He was a division chief over investigations.
Oh, and that's what you asked. That's what you asked. Like how?
No,
Oh no.
no. Ryan isn't in there.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah, it was Ryan Adams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you know that I am the first and only Latino division chief that Goshen has ever had?
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Historical.
Yeah.
And just,
Yeah, that is-
changing lives.
That's crazy too.
Yeah.
To think about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so these are my ex-in-laws.
Okay.
Some friends, cousin, brother and sisters, kids, grandson, that's a friend. Yeah,
Wow.
that was swearing in.
How time flies, huh?
Oh my, yeah.
Wow.
Time does fly.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I had a good experience. I had good captains working for me. We all got along. Yeah, it was great. I really loved it.
Yeah.
And then a couple years ago, or 3 years ago, yeah. Um, Division Chief Keith Miller stepped down, so that created a vacancy in the investigations. So then, one of our captains, I thought would be good for that position. And so I thought, well, if I move over to investigations, maybe I'll have a shot at this. Uh, and so then I became division chief over investigations, and I did that until I don't know, a week ago.
Speaking of which, Mario, you were almost heading out the door.
Yeah.
As the division chief. Um, we were going to celebrate your retirement, and they announced that you'd be staying. Was it a tough decision to make? Because I'm sure, like you mentioned, your family was planning a celebration of their own. Like was it tough staying and saying no to all the things that you had already envisioned? As heading out the door, was it tough, or was it like what I want to do this?
It was very tough. But what was offered, and I spoke with Mayor Gina Lichty, and the incoming chief, Andy Stevenson, and they offered me a position that I enjoy. I would enjoy. I would. And I really do believe that community engagement needs to happen. I really do. So going back to Wade. So Wade was very community oriented. Like he would always be at the Boys and Girls Club, and he'd be at events there in Goshen. And when I was a detective, he invited me to some talks because he was being told from some of the leaders in Goshen that the Latino community was afraid to come to the police department to file a report because they were afraid that they were going to. This is when they were doing when they canceled all the licenses, everybody's license, and people were going to jail. And so Wade saw an opportunity there, and that's to reach out to the Latino community. And so he asked me if I would join him, and I did. And it was amazing because sometimes people just need to be educated. You know what I mean? And then it makes sense, you know? So I just really enjoyed talking to people, and no question is a dumb question, you know? But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of educating and letting them know that they could come to the Goshen Police Department, and we're not like if you come in and you're undocumented. I'm not asking you for your green card. I'm not asking for your legal status. I'm asking what happened to you, Felix. Tell me what happened. And that's what I'm taking a report for. Like I wouldn't do it to anyone else. Why would I do it to you? Because you're brown? No, we don't do that. And that was the message that Chief Wade Branson wanted to put out there, and I helped him, and I enjoyed it. I mean, then I got to meet Gilberto, and he's amazing. Yeah, and so yeah, we just got out in the community, and we would go to churches on Sunday and talk to the congregation. You know, sometimes Saturday. You know, it just whatever the church set up is what we would do.
Get involved.
Yeah, and get involved and take questions, and because like I said, no question is a dumb question, and even stories. So stories that you could tell a story about Felix being stopped in Goshen, and you felt that this was an injustice, so on and so forth. We want to know about that, and we not that we want you to come into the police department so we can be like, hey, he's the guy, you know, keep tabs on him, follow him, you know, try and trip him up, but procedure. I mean, we need you to come in and file that complaint. like your wife can't file it for you, or a friend can't file it for you. You have to file a complaint, and people were leery about that. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that if Felix goes in there and files a complaint, that we're gonna put Felix's picture downstairs or on in every car. Say, hey, look out for this guy. Um, they're probably more likely to avoid you. To be honest with you, because yeah, because you're standing up for yourself. I mean, they don't want you. They don't want to be accused of anything,
right? Because they know that you know your rights and stuff,
right?
And you know where to go to accuse them of,
Exactly. So, but yeah, Chief Wade Branson was all about that. He was all about letting the Latino community know that if you come to Goshen Police Department, we want, because there were crimes that weren't being reported. There were victims out there that
weren't getting justice.
Yeah, they were afraid. They were afraid because they thought they were going to go to jail. Like, okay, Felix, okay, what's your social? I don't have one. Okay, we're gonna put a red mark next to him and investigate him later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I mean, there's questions that you don't have to answer to the police. Like if you're a victim of a burglary, do you really need to know my social? Do you really need to know where I was born? No, you don't have to answer those questions. It's okay. It's okay to say no. I don't want to answer that. You're here because you're a victim. They shouldn't be. Well, I know with our old RMS, so I guess going back to those talks, people would say, but when I went there to the police department to report XYZ, they would ask me for my social, they would ask me where I was born, and something else that, like, anyway, those two questions I know were just part of our report. But you know what, Felix, if you don't want to answer that, you don't have to. There were many times where, well, do you want to give me your social? What's your social? Well, do I have to tell you? No, you don't have to. Let's skip that part. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're there to report a crime. And the fact of the matter is, you don't have to say anything you don't want to. Nobody can force you to talk. But yeah, so, and I just think it made people more at ease, because it's okay. It's okay not to answer those questions. Where were you born? I don't want to tell you. Okay. No problem. Skip that. That box in our report isn't going to get filled. So what? You know what I mean? But some people don't understand that they can do that. Yeah, that there's options. And there are options. But we certainly don't want crime to just run rampant because folks are afraid to come in and report it. We don't want that. And I know that that's still Goshen, And I think right now people are afraid. I think it's very important for us to get out there and communicate what Goshen Police Department is all about. And because if we don't communicate it, nobody's going to know. Yeah.
Which is, believe what they hear on the news and federal.
It's all going to be, what you see on the news, what your compadre tells you, what the comadre tells you, the chisme.
Yeah. Speaking of, compadre, comadres, para todos los compadres y comadres, do you mind if te pregunto esta pregunta de nuevo?
Yeah, go ahead.
You could summarize it or whatever in español. Mario, ya casi estabas del otro lado de la puerta. Fuimos a celebrar tu retiro y la alcaldesa anunció ahí que le gustaría si te podías quedar para esta nueva posición, transitando from jefe en la policía a esta nueva posición de community engagement or comunidad in an engagement.
No, I don't. See, that's a tough one for me.
Para para comunicar con la comunidad, para trabajar del departamento del policía a la comunidad. Um, ¿Fue una decisión dura para ti decirle el retiro que no y quedarte a esta nueva
Pues,
posición?
pues como dije, o sea, era difícil, um, pero lo que reconocí es que necesitamos hacerlo. O sea, el departamento de Goshen tiene una obligación de comunicar con los que viven en Goshen, con la comunidad. Entonces dije yo, pues, yo puedo hacer eso. Y, como te dije, o sea, yo y el Chief Wade Branson hace unos años hicimos eso. Y pues, yo veo la necesidad de que el departamento de policía este, sea uno con la comunidad, con todos. Este, porque a veces nomás educando, este, porque hay muchos, ¿cómo decir? Hay muchos falsos. Este,
Opiniones o
sí, opiniones también, y pues, si me preguntas, te voy a decir la verdad. O sea, te voy a decir la verdad. Y como te estaba diciendo, hay derechos que todos tenemos. Este, y uno de esos derechos es de no hablar o no contestar. Puedes contestar lo que quieras. Y si te preguntan nomás una pregunta que no te gusta, puedes decir, ¿sabes qué? No voy a contestar eso. Pero seguimos, ¿verdad? Seguimos con el reporte. Este, pero la comunidad tiene que tener este, confianza. Tiene que tener confianza en el departamento de policía. Tiene. Y si no, siempre va a estar broken.
Quebrado.
Siempre. Y así se va a quedar. Y pues, en ese momento que hablé con el mayor Lipty, y decidí, ¿sabes qué? Yo puedo hacer eso. Yo conozco muchísima gente. Y me gusta. O sea, no es como que me están torciendo uh, twisting my arm, you know what I mean? Uh, porque ya quería estar retirado y estaba pensando en todo lo que iba a hacer.
Yeah.
Íbamos a tener una fiesta el 20 de este mes con familia, amigos, y luego para decirles a todos, ¿no? Que se va a cancelar.
Siempre no. Yeah.
Todos estaban, pues, ¿qué pasó? Ya deja. Dije, no, es que voy a tener otro puesto. Y es lo que me decían mis amigos y mi familia, ya, deja, retírate ya 26 años haciendo ese trabajo. Este, y dije, no, es que es otra oportunidad de crecer. Este, pues vamos a ver dónde llegamos. Y eso es lo que me interesó y eso es y por eso decidí quedarme.
Yeah.
Porque vi que hay una necesidad y también yo pienso que yo puedo. Yo puedo.
Yeah. Y es otra oportunidad de no solamente, like, solucionar casos o perseguir el criminal, pero si no es una oportunidad para conectar la comunidad, la gente, con police station. Y, y como dices, lo has hecho antes y te gustó y lo hiciste bien y ah, de lo que nos has contado hoy, yo creo que vas a ser un gran oficial para, comunicar la comunidad al departamento de Goshen. Y te deseo lo mejor, Mara. I wish you the
Muchas
best
gracias.
in this new role. Um, you've done amazing work, and I'm sure you'll
Thank
continue
you.
to do great work. And do you have any last words, Mario? Últimas
So,
palabras?
my last words.
Yeah.
And this is what. So when I was division chief over patrol, I got asked this question more from new police officers than I do now because I'm over investigations. So it's just kind of a different role. But when I was over patrol, new guys that would come onto the department be hired. I remember being at the training facility and they were being trained. New guys just going through their first few weeks of training.
Being defeated.
Yeah, I remember one of them coming up to me saying, "So, Chief, do you have any advice for me at the start of my career?" I said, "Yeah, actually, I do." I said, "So, you got to remember that every person that you arrest is not a bad person. Treat them with respect, treat them with dignity." And I said, "Good people do bad things." And he kind of looked at me like, "What do you mean good people do bad things?" And I said, "Do you have kids?" He said, "Yep." I said, "Okay, imagine your kid doesn't have any food. No food, you have no money, you're down and out. Would you go to the grocery store steal some bread, some milk, or your kid dies, starves?" "No, I'd steal the food." I said, "Are you a bad person?" He said, "No." I said, "That's what I'm saying. Good people sometimes do bad things. Not everybody's a criminal. Are there criminals out there that are always doing bad shit? 100%. There are always, but not everybody. And one thing that I never did was worry about somebody hurting me, like if I'm not in this uniform. I was never afraid to go to Walmart with my kids, with my wife, like girlfriend, whatever. I was never afraid to be in public. I was never afraid to go to restaurants. Don't have to sit with facing the door. Some cops do. Because I never treated anybody so bad that they would want to hurt me. I mean, I would have people like thanking me, and not for taking them to jail, but for treating them with respect, treating them like a human being. So that was my advice, and that's still what I live for. Just because I have the authority to take your freedom from you doesn't mean that I'm better than you. We're all the same, and not everybody's a criminal. And I wish that when people encounter law enforcement officers, that they're treated that way. They're treated with respect. And you could be the most mouthiest, most biggest criminal, but I don't have to disrespect you. I don't have to. You're still going to jail. So I'm not saying, like,
Forgive them or.
yeah, I'm not saying that, oh, you put your really nice gloves on and you're like, oh, okay, treat them like you would your kid when they get in trouble. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just treat people with respect. So
Yeah, let justice.
yeah, let justice take its course.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes if you do that, you might change that perception. And if you get to change that perception in one person, like that'd be amazing, amazing.
life at a time.
Yeah, and you encounter those folks that like me when I was young and didn't like cops. I remember stopping somebody. Then the guy grabs his license, he puts it up on the hood or on the top of the car. I go up to the car license registration. He says it's right there, and he starts getting mouthy and cussing. I take his license. I said, "Sir, what's going on with you today? Why are you so aggressive?" He said, "Well, I know you're going to give me an effing ticket, and you guys don't have anything to do, and blah blah blah." And I said, "I'm sorry you feel that way." I said, "But you were speeding, and that's why I stopped you."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "But I'm going to tell you something. I'm not like those other cops that you've encountered. Not at all. Because you're not getting a ticket today." I said, "Here's your license." I said, "I hope you have a better day." That was it. You know what he said before he left? "Thank you. You're different." I said, "No, I'm not different." I said, "There are cops just like me out there. There's a lot of them." I said, I will be honest with you, with the attitude right away, but, and I didn't go into to how I was, but that's probably like how I felt inside. I wouldn't do that because I was probably too afraid back when I was 20. But I know inside that's how I felt about cops. He just expressed it. And I just saw opportunity there. It's an opportunity to change his mind. And he said, "Thank you." So it works. It does work. Just, yeah.
Prove to the community, that there's good in the
There is
department,
good.
there's good police officers. Not everyone that does something bad
It's a criminal. Good people do bad things.
Good people do bad things. Yeah. All right, Mario. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias,
so much, Mario.
Absolutely. See you guys. Thanks for listening.
Okay, that was awesome.